So today we are going to look at taking our design of our bridge railing that we've been working on. Now that we've got a 3D model going, we need to be able to get all these profiles into a flat layout so that we can cut them on the plasma machine and make our steel parts. We've already done a little bit of a prototype with our laser cutting machine, so we've seen the model, we know what it looks like. So now we're going to have to figure out a way to get that information to the plasma cutter. The plasma cutter only works in 2 dimensions, right? So plasma just cuts X, Y, no Z. It doesn't have any measurement for Z. So we don't need a solid model when we're cutting on the plasma table. But we've drawn a solid model, and now we need to get that information into that machine somehow. So most of the time what we're going to do is have to translate our data from our CAD program through another piece of software that will write the code for the CNC machine to be able to cut. So we've got our 2D geometry now, and we're going to get ready to cut it. So we need to know how to run the plasma table. Like I said before, the plasma runs CNC information, so we went and we generated that information in our Cut 2D program. So the first thing we need to do with our CNC plasma cutter is do some setup, which is already done, but what's really important is, what do you think when we're cutting with something? Anytime you cut anything, what's important? The thickness of the material. Okay, so we got to check and see what the thickness of this material is. So we use this little gauge, and we find that this is number 10, and it's 0.14 thickness. So what we would do then is come over to our plasma table, change our settings, and like I said, it's already set up, but we would change our settings based on the thickness of the material that we're going to cut. All right, so the next thing that's important is we need to set the origin, right? What's the origin? 0, 0. So that was going to be where the 0, 0 in our software was, right? We need to figure out where that is on the piece of steel that we're going to cut so that it starts at that point and measures from that everywhere that it's going to cut. Okay, so we're going to put the machine, if you look at the machine here, there's 2 options. There's auto and manual. So if we put it in manual mode, we can actually drive it around and we get it to a certain location that we want to use. There's a button up here that does 0 test, which goes down and checks where the material is. It hits the probe on the material. So now it's close enough that I can get it really in that corner. And once I get it close enough, it doesn't have to be perfect because, again, we're using this whole sheet, and then what we're cutting is much smaller than it, but we want to use as much of that material as possible. So once we get to that point, we hit the origin button here, and now that origin is saved in the machine. It knows that's 0 for what we're cutting right now. So you can save your 0 point anywhere on the sheet, so we could put it anywhere on this whole bed of the machine, but that's where it's going to start from with that file that we created for it.